having recognized that laziness is a fundamental core element of my nature, I took the VXTs off of here, which I did not like, and I put Jconcepts Tusks on it, and I liked those, and I just said, that's that. Those, why are we going to try something else when obviously those are the thing? But what if they're not the thing? I mean, I've got stuff laying around here. So it occurred to me, what must obviously happen is the holiday edition of the Jconcepts-travaganza, in which we take our friend here, the Phoenix, and we're going to run it through the Jconcepts tires that I have here. Will this be an objective test? Mostly. Will this be useful to other people? Maybe. Will it be completely fair? That I don't know. Because what we have is 4 different tires. We've got Scorpios, we've got Tusks, we've got Hunks, and we've got Landmines. Now, these 4 are in various states of use. I would kind of say from most used to least used, that's probably correct. Right there. The Jconcepts Landmines are fresh out of the bag. I just mounted these up right now. They're still the little blue hint of beadlock on the back of the screws. These were thieved for the day from Lil Yella. These are the Phoenix's day-to-day tire, and these are the tires from Jolly Green. I'd initially thought, I mean, will there be a problem with things like fitment or ride height? But it should not be an issue, because what Jconcepts does is they make kind of one speck of tire. I would say within a millimeter, these tires are all the same height. They are plus or minus 122 millimeters tall. The same goes for width. The Landmines are, yes, indeed slightly wider. They have a more squared carcass. They are 45 millimeters wide. The Hunks, surprisingly, while looking the narrowest, are the second widest at 44 millimeters. And these two guys, the Scorpio and the Tusk, are both 43 millimeters wide. So I've also scaled them all. The Scorpios are the lightest, I think, due to the fact that they have plastic hubs. I couldn't find the hub width that I wanted on hand, so I grabbed those from who knows where. Second heaviest, the Tusks, 172. I should have a graphic up of these. 181 for the Hunks, 180, 181, and the Landmine scaled out the same at 180, 181. So we're looking at 14 grams, half an ounce for the lightest, which is definitely the hubs. So I don't think weight will be an issue. The offsets of all 4 are roughly the same. A little less track width on the Hunks. They sit a little tighter. But other than that, it should be all right. What this means is I will do tests of functional, vertical, and side hill, and try to hit some obstacles with each of the tire sets to kind of try to replicate the same test multiple times. I mean, it's kind of impossible, but we'll get as close as we can, which means I'm going to have to be taking the old 5mm flangeless nuts off a lot. And as I've mentioned previously, nylock nuts are technically one and done. Once you've put a nylock nut on and taken it off, that's it. It's never going to hold the way that it used to. Luckily for me, I've bought a couple, so that shouldn't be an issue here. I think I mean, I guess what I'll do is I'll do them lightest to heaviest, I suppose. This is just kind of how they laid out when I set them down. So Scorpio's up first, then the Tusks, then the Hunks, and then the all-new Landmines. I know most tires tend to get a little better as they break in, so one might think that that's a disadvantage for the Landmines, but I've had really good luck with Jconcepts tires straight out of the packaging. So I think it's still fair enough. It's still very strange how much to the eye that looks so much wider, but when you put a caliper on it, they're like 1 millimeter apart. And the same, like you lay it down right there, they are basically the same width. Anyhow, I'll get some tires bolted up and we'll move to rocks. And as promised, up first will be the Scorpios. Each tire will be tested in the same order, beginning with max vertical. These took far longer. If you'll notice there, both front wheels completely off the board. And then the only result shown is the maximum angle that they could ascend, which in this case is 56.9 degrees, which is very steep. But along with my Phoenix apparently having developed the gearbox click, the Scorpio's certainly not the quickest up slick rock. Not awful, but not the quickest. Moving over to what I've just now come to call Daphne's line, as she kind of popularized this spot. Regardless of what tire the Phoenix is fitted with, it can handle this with some ease. 14 seconds to ascend Daphne's line. We move directly from there to the Beast, a section where the Scorpios, what I was trying to do was kind of hold a line. Like if you move to the right of here, you can grab there, and if you hook a tire up on the left, you can grab there. But I didn't want to get outside of the middle section, so it still took it in the middle section, and it took a good while to find a spot with bite. And I continued it back around and down, but only counted the time for the ascent, which in this case was 26 seconds. Then on to what we here call washout, because I can't have any sort of contest without an out and back, and a dirt side hill is the enemy of all tires. Scorpio is pulling a rock out of the ground, but completing the out and back in an alright 19 seconds. Which brings our totals up for the Scorpios, that 56.9 for the vertical, 12 seconds slick rock, 14 for Daphne's, 26 on the Beast, and 19 on the washout. Moving right along to the second competitor, the day-to-day tire for the Phoenix, the Tusks. Climbing the board here. Immediate lift to the front tire. Right there, both tires, I think it covered about a foot of distance. You can see those rear tires really pillowing out. There's a lot of grip in the Tusks. They didn't quite match the angle set by the Scorpios. We'll see how that translates to the slick rock portion, taking the same identical line, and the Tusks right up and over, no problem. Little hesitation there. Wrap around. The time on that ascent, a big 9 seconds on that one, so a bit quicker. Moving directly over to Daphne's line. And the Tusks here, compared to all others, they feel the most sure-footed. So covers that section in 11 seconds, which is okay, but it felt better than the time indicated. Moving up the Beast, everybody gets hung up there. but the Tusks get hung up for a matter of perhaps a second. Even in a high grip area, dig still pretty effective, and again, matching its time with another 11-second performance. Out onto the washout. You might notice more steering input being put here. The Tusks can be allowed to run wider because those side lugs are so effective. So it crosses the out and back in 19 seconds, the same time that the Scorpios did it. So 55 1/4 on the vertical, 9 seconds on Slick Rock, 11 seconds on both Daphne's Line and the Beast, and 19 seconds on the washout. Keeping it rolling right along, moving to our third tire test, the Hunks, which have, of all the tires, the least amount of tread, noticeable here in the super slow-mo. This is with the 33% overdrive engaged, and you'll notice the front tire is spinning. Like the balance of the rig is good enough to keep the front end down, but there was no hop and no lift, but the fronts were barely making contact. And that was at a 54.2 degrees, the lowest of the tested so far. But that does not directly translate to the real world, as the Hunks drive straight up the face of the Slick Rock, and then a part where that lack of tread comes in handy, because it covered the Slick Rock ascent in 7 seconds. Moving directly to Daphne's Line, and I think I mentioned that the Hunks sit the narrowest. So in a section where it helps to be narrow, it covers that ascent in 8 seconds. Quickest so far. Bringing us on to the Beast, a section where lack of tread is not as helpful. The nature of the surface here compared to Slick Rock is very different. So the same method of attack doesn't work as well. Wraps back around with a finish at 21 seconds. Then on to the washout, which one would think, oh, well, the Hunks won't do well here because they don't have a lot of tread. And then what they did is they exhibited that, like, the rear end was slipping there a lot. This is, of course, in 6% overdrive. And it covered it in 12 seconds, which is blisteringly fast. And I thought, I didn't even have to engage dig to get it to turn around. So let me see if I approach that again. And then that was just a full slide off, as if the truck was set in rear-wheel drive only mode. So I tried it again, trying to counter that front push that it had, and then see, there's that looseness. When it tries to get up and over the top, there's not enough grip. So yes, it got 12 seconds, but there was no confidence to it. It does leave a fairly good-looking scorecard for the Hunks, a 54.2 degree max vertical, a brisk 7 seconds on Slick Rock and 8 seconds on Daphne's Line, but a not-so-good 21 on the Beast, and a impressive 12 on the washout, leaving just the landmines, and they move straight into max vertical. Side by side, the landmines look a lot like the Tusks, and like you could see the sidewall bagging on the rear tire. They perform similarly, and got a very similar score on the slope. Did a little better than the Tusk. I believe that was 2nd place overall. Onto the Slick Rock, pushes out a little bit wide. Nice hook on the rear tire to spin it down, and covered that ascent in a pretty quick 8 seconds. On over to Daphne's Line with a little bit wider of a tire, makes for a little bit slower going, but not much. I mean, I think the Landmines probably looked the best overall, finishing that in 9 seconds. And on to the Beast. And this was, everyone else had attacked this in 33% overdrive. I mean, if you have it, use it. So it got pushed off too far, so I considered that a non-make. So rolled it down to the bottom, switched to 6%, and that was that blasted that ascent. Like, I didn't have to give it any steering input. I held the throttle at a nearly constant point, and it covered that ascent in 6 seconds. So there's definitely something to be said for the Landmines on that type of ascent. Again, here, it's almost as if there's too much grip. Just the tiniest application of dig, and just destroys the washout in 10 seconds. So a very impressive scorecard for the Landmines. 56.25 on the vertical, 8 seconds Slick Rock, 9 on Daphne's, 6 seconds on the Beast. If it had managed to get a 9-second out and back on the washout, it would have been sub 10 on everything. So now that'll get us to the comparison. We'll get the sheet so we can get all the numbers put up together side by side. And there we have it. It's fairly straightforward. We'll break it down a little more. Scorpio's winning max vertical by just a touch. The Hunks taking both the Slick Rock and Daphne's line, and the Landmines winning the Beast and Washout. So if you were to just look at those numbers, you would say Landmines by a mile, then the Hunks, then the Tusks. They kind of go in that order. But the numbers on paper don't necessarily indicate an overall performance. Like, here's the Landmines on 33% up the lower crux, and makes it, clears that near vertical. And then here are the Tusks at 33%, and it climbs it almost identically. Now, what doesn't show in video is the feel of it. Then you take the Landmines and you put them on 6%. And it doesn't really have enough to pull itself up. So it can do one or it can do the other. And I have to go to it when it finally pops over. I had to go to a freeze frame right there because I accidentally gave it a little goose throttle and it fell the 4 feet down the other side into the hole. So then here's the Tusks at 6% overdrive. And I know it might be subtle, and I probably should have side-by-side split screened it, but there's a palpable amount of additional control on the Tusks. The Tusks at 6% and the Tusks at 33% feel almost exactly the same. The Landmines feel very different. Like when the Landmines tried to climb the Beast at 33%, couldn't do it. But at 6%, right to the top effortlessly. So again, I don't know how much this shows, but like right here, I felt like I was near the limit on the Landmines. They didn't have the same confidence. They always felt like they were right on the edge, which I don't necessarily count as a negative. Now, let's look at the Tusk do the exact same thing. This very common now run along Leviathan scales, and like right in here, more speed can be carried just because of the amount of confidence that those Tusks have. Now, as I mentioned early on, I don't know if that's because these tires have a little bit more time on them, the foams have gotten to break in a little bit. What I do know is that the Tusks, and this is a wholly unquantifiable thing, but the Tusks feel better. They are more confidence inspiring. So cruising a section like this with the landmines, that front would try to roll even at 6%. And like I say, I'm convinced that Jconcepts makes one foam. They make that medium foam. And then every tire is made in that super soft green compound. So doing a test of Jconcepts versus Jconcepts versus Jconcepts versus Jconcepts works, because these tires essentially all run on the same foams. The weight between any individual mounted tire was in less than half an ounce. And for me on this one, on paper, it's the landmines. But in practice, for me, the edge goes to the Tusks. So if I were in the position to make a recommendation, and I guess as I've gone through the trouble to make this video, I kind of am, I would say, if you're buying a set of tires for absolute performance, it's the landmines. If you're buying the tire that I would classify as the best all-rounder for the Phoenix, it's the Tusks. Because I think they're just... They're a very good, very high-performance tire. I think the Landmine is even higher performance, but at a cost. That cost being that tire can get a little unpredictable at times. So, all other things being equal, and all things considered, for me, it's Tusks. I still say, if you're going all in, landmines, then Tusks. But for me, Tusks all the way. And I wanted the landmines to win, full disclosure, because I like the way their rims look on the Vanquish the best. And as I mentioned more than once, my laziness definitely prevents me from undoing all those bolts and bolting all that stuff back together just to change the wheels from black and silver to black and silver. So they're going to stay like that, and I'm happy that the wheels I chose initially, the tires I chose initially, are what worked out the best. You really couldn't go wrong with any of them. I think if you were on clean, high grip rock, it might actually be Hunks. But again, I'll stand where I drew my line. All around Tusks, pure performance, landmines. If you've got high grip, Hunks, and I would probably put the Scorpios on something else. I honestly don't think that the Phoenix weighs enough to take full advantage of the Scorpios. They need, I don't know, I don't have any super light rigs, but I think they tend to grip better on something heavier. Anyway, that's that. Made a long way around just to get back where we started. And for me, it's the Tusks, and for you, I guess it's to find out. So thanks for watching. Like if you haven't, subscribe if you aren't. Crawler Canyon on Instagram, and I hope to see you next time.